We're infantilizing learners. We are giving into them and treating them like children. We're depriving them of opportunities to learn, and they probably are not doing themselves a favor by acting like children anyway. Hi everyone, my name is Kian. I run a company focusing on corporate training, on business consulting, and employee engagement. We have worked with more than 25 companies, more than 10 of which are multinational companies, and with more than 2,500 employees across 15 different countries, including Germany, Canada, Australia, Hong Kong, China, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, Singapore, and Malaysia, among others. And throughout my experience of working with employees, I've noticed that there's a trend going on. Maybe this trend has gone on for many years, I don't know. But we're infantilizing learners. When I was back in school, we had to listen to the teacher. We had to actually commit and be held accountable for our work. If we did not understand a concept, it was on us as a learner to find out from the teacher. If we did not do well, we receive criticisms, and we are expected to have a great attitude when you are learning. When I kickstart my career in corporate training, for example, I find that that's really different. There are many cases of infantilization of adult learners that I've seen. I share them in my memoir, which is available for pre-order. I have a specific subsection on that. I've written multiple newsletters on how we're infantilizing adult learners. But I just want to share one instance of infantilization of adult learning that goes on. And that is trying to keep them happy. And that may sound like I'm not being reasonable, because if you're learning, of course, we have to be happy. But the way that we infantilize learners, or the cases that I've seen at least, are that companies are trying not to remind corporate people or adult learners that being resilient, for example, happens to be important. So I've literally heard from prospects who would say something like, hey Kian, I want you to help my employees be more resilient and to bounce back in the face of challenges, setbacks, and barriers. But I don't want you to make any mention of the potential of them meeting negative people or having negative experiences at work. I want to make sure that they're happy. I don't want to remind them of any negativity. And when I hear that, I'm thinking, what the hell? Because the definition of being resilient is that you bounce back from challenges, from negativity. So how can you not talk about negativity if you want to talk about resilience? If there's no negativity, then there's no need to be resilient, I guess. And they would twist their words. They would say, hey, maybe you can present it in such a way that they're all doing very well, we are all doing very well, we are all a happy family, but how can we be even more happy? And that's an example of resilience. And I think that, when that happens, then the understanding of resilience is just wrong. But they're scared to instill any form of challenges in the learning session because they don't want to exert their employees' cognitive tenacity, I guess. They want to make sure that everyone is happy, that there's no challenge at all in the training session, that nothing is too challenging to learn. There's no mention of potential negative experiences, that everything, as far as content is concerned, is also very easy and not challenging to grasp, so that everybody just feels happy and comfortable in the session. And that, I think, is an example of how we infantilize learners. And if you think about it, even when you're in school, you're expected to think about the potential for negative experiences. You're going to learn content that's difficult, and that perhaps will make you feel negative in that moment, but that will help you in the future because you will grow as someone who is better and more knowledgeable. And I think that infantilizing learners is dangerous in many ways. So let's talk about the first way. First thing that could happen is that everyone would then assume that negativity is something that does not exist, or they may even forget that there is such a thing as being negative. And that's not good, because if you think about it, companies reward people who are actually resilient. So if you want your people to be resilient, but you don't give them the opportunities to learn about being resilient, then aren't you depriving them of the opportunities to upskill themselves? Then what are they going to do? Are they expected to then look for opportunities themselves? Of course they can do that. But if they're already working in the company and they have the right to be upskilled by their employer, why not give them the opportunities to learn about resilience in the company itself? The second thing that could happen is that you're going to spoon feed your learners and you're going to enable them to be even more unresilient. You're going to breed a bunch of people who are not able to perform in cases of pressure because you're not allowing them to learn to handle pressure when learning opportunities arise. So companies probably not going to perform very well because the people is not going to be very positive when challenges occur. And these are two of the many things that could go on. You could cause company drama because people don't know how to, for example, communicate with each other when conflict arises. So I think that something is wrong as far as infantilization of adult learners is concerned. It's not something that should continue. And if you're an adult learner, if you're an employee, you should not expect to be infantilized. If you're not where you want to be as far as your career is concerned, it's a slap in the face. And you should be reminded that reality exists, actually. That if you don't put in the effort to face challenges, you're not going to get anywhere. Unless, of course, you're already happy with where you are. You don't plan to develop yourselves for yourself, your family, your loved ones, and so forth. But this idea of keeping everyone happy and comfortable in learning sessions is, I think, one instance of the many instances that I've seen of how we infantilize learners in the corporate setting. I hope you learned something new from the video. I hope you found anything insightful. If you agree, disagree, please share your comments and ideas and thoughts in the comment section. I would be sure to read all of them and to reply to all of them. Please subscribe to the channel, and if you would like to learn more about my experience of dealing with luxury beliefs by Dr. Rob Henderson, please watch the video that has popped up, and I'll see you in the next one.